Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu pakhairagale ni hao chunashume washmale. Hi gozaimas, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan marhaba. Buna mucho gracias, Fabi abballi kare aya. Hoş geldin and ayo sayo khuyamura chibato chi hal jot kalimera khairutan. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajar Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. In fact, the week, ladies and gentlemen. But before I speak any further, hello Hajra, Assalamu alaikum. How are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much. It is Monday. It is the start of the week, and a lot of people start dreading the start of the week because the entire week you have to work. But I think this is just a modern phenomena that we are experiencing. There are lots of different news on our platform. So one of the interesting news is that a gigantic map of the universe has been discovered or been made possible. So why don't you take the lead, Shahzad? And
sure. I mean, you know, I've always been fascinated with the fact that, you know, that there's so many galaxies and that, you know, that this universe actually revolves around so many other things which, or celestial bodies which we might not be aware of. So imagine that the Europe's Euclid telescope has revealed a stunning image that will form the first piece of its great cosmic map in a mission to unravel the secrets of the universe. This huge mosaic is made up of 208 gigapixels of image data covering an area in the southern sky more than 500 times the area of the full moon. The European Space Agency said, featuring some 14 million galaxies, it accounts for 1% of the wide sky survey that Euclid will capture over 6 years to shed light on two of the universe's greatest mysteries, dark energy and dark matter.
Oh, wow.
Dark matter is made up of particles that do not absorb, reflect or emit light, while dark energy is believed to be pushing galaxies apart, causing the expansion of the universe to accelerate. My God, just look at that. I don't know how many other planet systems out there might even exist. You know, Allah Teri Qudrat, mashallah, subhanallah. I think that's it, yeah.
And I think universe is one such aspect or very expensive sort of an area that always fascinates us as a human being, because there's so much out there to explore and we really don't know much, and that also tells us the nothingness of the man, that we are nothing in front of such an expansive universe. But when talking about the ancient, I mean the features of the human development.
Yeah, I want to speak about that a little further. Yeah, please go ahead first.
Okay, sure. So there's a lot of speculations about the pyramids of the in the Giza, right? And there are a lot of speculations that they were not actually made by humans, because how can, without any modern machinery, such a huge structures could have been made? So archaeologists have claimed that the oldest pyramid is not built by human. That's very interesting. While the Guinness World Book of Record officially lists the pyramid in Egypt as the world's oldest pyramid, one paper published in October claimed a layer of the Gunung Padang pyramid in Indonesia was constructed as far as back as 25,000 BC, though there have been since doubts as to whether the structure was ever man-made at all. In a research led by Danny of the Indonesian Institute of Sciences and published in the journal Archaeological Prospection, the academic wrote that the pyramid's core consists of meticulously sculpted massive lava, and that oldest construction element of the pyramid originated as a natural lava hill before being sculpted and architecturally enveloped. And one of the things that really fascinates me is that in modern archaeology there is a huge blackout, right? Because they don't know what the history is about. But I think you can have filled that void of that huge blackout from the scriptures, especially Quran, because Allah tells a lot of stories and He tells us the stories so that we can learn from them. And He says that, do you know why the people before you were destroyed, right? So there are a lot of people out there, stories out there willing to be explored on the earth, and I think Giza is just the missing link in that.
Exactly. And in addition to this, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, just very quickly, I believe that, you know, that if cell phones weren't enough, imagine that people or humans will be able to share their messages while they're sleeping. I don't know if it's a great idea or not, but this is the kind of research which has been undertaken by students as well. So researchers at California-based startup REM Space have achieved a groundbreaking milestone by enabling two individuals to communicate while in lucid dreams, a phenomenon where a person becomes aware they are dreaming using specialized equipment and a language called Remio. The participants successfully exchanged messages during sleep. This breakthrough, marked by years of research, opens new possibilities for dream communication and has far-reaching implications for both commercial and scientific fields. If that wasn't enough, imagine husband and wife, kind of sending messages to each other while they are sleeping. So I don't know, if it's a great news or not. But, well, I believe that, that it was more of a scientific research.
True.
And I don't know whether it will be widely available for the population or not.
True, true. That's very true. But in a very interesting development, the Pakistani state has taken this initiative back in the February this year to introduce the mind sports into the child's creative development in order to foster their creativity. And we have seen that how the darker effects of the digital addiction to the screens can have on the children. So while we were growing up, we were super into the board games, for example, chess,
Monopoly.
for example, Scrabble, Monopoly, Ludo, Sudoku, and whatever. I used
That
to also
snake game as well.
Sam Siri, you call it. I don't know what you call it in English, but I mean there were plenty of that games. But as we are growing up, we see the generation that is coming now. It's not very much invested into it. So it's a good idea to foster the creativity and especially to have more cognitive development of the children, especially in their learning ages, because that not also increases their vocabulary, that gives them confidence, and especially for the children who might not be very brilliant in their education. I mean, winning a chess competition or being good at the Monopoly or in the Scrabble, it can give them a lot of confidence. So in order to talk more about it, because we have the president of the Chess Federation of Pakistan, and Pakistanis are making quite a name in the chess, particularly recently. We are very glad that we have been joined by Hanif Qureshi, who happens to be the president of the Chess Federation of Pakistan. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much. So, sir,
Very good morning.
So, sir, we did have Pakistani who in the US has led the third spot, particularly I think in the Scrabble, I think few days back, right? So, what is the goal behind this initiative? I mean, I'm stressing on the mind sports particularly, and which are the schools that you are pushing this agenda through?
Right. First of all, I would like to congratulate you. I think it's a very important subject that you have yet touched it. So I think it's very important. And there is a very interesting, link between that infinitive universe that you are talking about and that universe which exists on the chessboard. And that is very infinitive also.
True, true.
Coming back to chess and Scrabble. Scrabble, Pakistan has been winning the world championship titles for a very long time. Last month, Pakistan won for the fifth time the World Junior Championship in Sri Lanka.
Wonderful.
So that shows that our youth has that current that we have to really work upon and bring them forward. Chess Federation of Pakistan has taken up the affairs of chess 2 years back.
Right.
Before, if you look at 3-4 decades, unfortunately things were not that good. But this team, which came into on the horizon now, is working to bring our chess forward. So especially for the audiences, I would like to say that physical sports and mind sports, they are both very important.
Yes, yes.
Especially, as you said, cognitive development for kids
And brain
is very, very
stimulation,
important. And you may be very surprised when you look at those champions in the world, average age is coming 17, 18 now.
Yeah.
So slowly you have this mind power coming forward. And there has been so many researches on the subject, take it from Harvard to anywhere else, where mind sports bring a very important and plays a very important role in the life.
And we would love to unfold that as well. But sir, in addition to this, I believe that what is of great importance is that our Honorable Premier of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan has actually made sure that that all of these mind sports are being included in our curriculum. So imagine when we went to school, I think other than the sports period, there was nothing else.
Yes.
So please talk us through about that, because it's not just the Chess Federation of Pakistan, it's the government of Pakistan happens to be the stakeholder. Then it's the Asian Chess Federation having 58 member countries. Then it's the International Chess Federation, then Pakistan Scrabble Association. So everybody's going to work together, a lot of stakeholders. What is this initiative about? How will be it in place, and how do you think that the students will benefit from it?
Right. This initiative, which is called Prime Minister National Mind Sports Initiative, is the largest chess and education, mind sports into education initiative in the world.
Wonderful.
FIDE, which is membership for 201 member countries, the whole world is there, has great experience all around the world developing mind sports. And we have teamed up with them.
Right.
And I'm very grateful to Premier of Pakistan, Government of Pakistan, because the equal opportunities of bringing mind sports not only exist now for the government schools, but also the private schools.
Right,
so we are bringing more kids. Just to give you an example, Pakistani kids are excelling in chess. Just last month in World Chess Olympiad in Budapest, Hungary, Pakistan's Ayat Asmi, a 12 years old player, won the women candidate master title.
Wonderful.
And she has always won. Last year in the World Schools Championship, 56 countries were participating, she won the bronze.
Wow.
So Pakistani youth is now coming, all this work we are doing. So we hope that not only we create champions, but we bring this passion for mind sports. And this will help the kids in the future in their own life of planning for future. There is so much that you can learn from mind
And
sports.
Hanif, so we've seen that when we talk about chess, right? So shatranj ke khiladi, right? So in a metaphorical terms, it is associated with the smartness and, you know, with the very quick attention that you have to play and on all of the moves that you have to make, right? So far, how has this been received by the students in which, you know, the schools in which you are going? Because I do remember we have grown up playing chess. You know, I used to play chess with my brother, and it was very frustrating when I used to, lose the game, right? And it was equally frustrating for my brother to lose it because, you know, it's difficult to accept the defeat. But like, how far so far, what's the receptivity of the
Great.
Really? Okay.
In April, just to give you an example, in April we have organized National Youth Championship in Lahore. And there were 150 kids from all over the country who came to participate. And when we concluded the championship, we were on the way back to Islamabad, we were receiving the calls, so when is the next tournament?
Oh, wonderful.
So the passion is there, kids love it. And chess has this very powerful, you know,
mind concentration.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly, and in addition to this, I do believe that, you know, that it stimulates your brain in a way that, you know, that you're more strategical, you know, so you will adapt the technique of thinking as in how
Critical
and
thinking.
what your move needs to be in your life. And, you know, if I'm going to make this move, whether what sort of implications will I have, or whether what sort of repercussions.
True.
Because I still remember that, you know, the eldest daughter Shabano, I always play chess with her.
Oh,
Even though
really?
that she's still been losing, you know, for the last 2 years, you know, because I don't know, I think with mothers, they would always lose probably, that they want their kids to win. But while we're at it, sir, how do you think that this, you know, will be included, the entire process of, you know, playing chess and Scrabble within public schools, or is it only with public schools, or are you partnering with private schools as well? How are they taking it? What sort of arrangements are being made? You know, is there going to be a board game room, you know, where the students will be taken into? Is it probably having just one chessboard in a school where do din baad gotiyan nahi mil rahiyan? You know, so how is it?
And I think, how did the teachers receive that? Because they're like, you know, pado, ratte maro, you know, these are stupid like
And
sport.
probably a lot of teachers might not even know how to play chess.
Actually, all of that what you said.
Yeah.
So Ministry of Education, if you go to Islamabad schools, you will be surprised. Beautiful rooms they have created.
We
for
had
mind
Secretary
sports.
Saab over here, yes, you know, to speak about it.
There
Yes,
you
he
go.
was here.
So not only the federal government is doing a great job, but we would like to engage the provincial governments now to get to them and bring this program to provincial schools. Private schools coming forward, chess and Scrabble is going into all of those schools. And as you said, actually, this doesn't only teach you strategy, forward thinking, but chess is very much like life.
Yeah, that's
You make a wrong move, you receive a punch in the face. That's how the life. So you have to calculate and make the right moves. So use your, you know, your mental capacities to move forward.
So very quickly, because you happen to be the champion as well, you know, just to rejoice of, you know, that moment of playing chess and get that nostalgia, you know, so I'm going to, you know, speak the names of all of those gotiya, you know, and you can please translate it in English for us as well. So one is top.
Top is rook.
Rook, okay. So then there's king, there's queen, then there's the horse, then, you know, what do we call it, which goes diagonal?
Bishop.
Bishop, yes. Then we have bishops, and then we have pyade.
Right. Pawns.
Soldiers.
Pawns,
Pawns,
I think that's it pretty much. There's nothing else left. Yeah. But But I guess that one goatee that loves the most
That the
is
straight
the
one
queen. It's the queen, goes everywhere.
Queen goes everywhere.
Queen is always most
I think
powerful.
horse is also very important because it can like
Daika
move.
them.
Yeah.
1,
move,
2 and a half, right.
Even
Nice.
though there is a pawn in front of it, like it can move.
Yeah.
So that's why it is.
No, I never knew that.
Yeah,
I think
it
so.
happens that.
Yes.
But thank you so much, Hanif Saab, for coming here, for shedding light on such an important development, and especially for the children out there, because in order to foster their creativity, and obviously when you win, that gives you a sense of achievement, and it is very important, especially for the children who are in their learning age, who are developing their brain, to foster this critical thinking.
Exactly. And Hajra, in addition to this, obviously, what we really need to kind of talk about is imagine that, we always make sure that our children, so us as parents, we will always think that, okay, whatever we didn't had, we would want to give it to our children as well. Now, imagine that, to do that, what we do is that we bring them toys in abundance and everything. So we are not really sure if having toys in abundance will have a great impact on their personality, or rather,
or fostering creativity. So we will
that's
talk about
exactly
that.
something that we would love to kind of pick up on. We have a psychologist waiting to be in conversation. And so we're heading out towards a short break. Dogu, anyway, when you come back, let's talk about that, whether having more toys will foster, or not. So that's the discussion. Let's do it. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back, and before going on to the break, Shahzad alluded to the sort of conversation that we want to develop, but before that there is a very interesting story that we would like to share with you, and that is regarding how a man in Canada has broken the record by walking 38 dogs simultaneously. So Mitchell Rudy from Canada has officially set a new world record for walking 38 dogs simultaneously, surpassing the previous record of 36. This record-breaking event took place on September 5th, 2024 in the South Korea, and was sponsored by the Canadian charity Bonk and the Korean Canine Rescue. The walk was not only a great accomplishment, but also aimed at creating awareness for the rescued dogs. All 38 dogs were rescued within local community and listed for adoption. The shelter mainly cares for rescuing dogs from the puppy mills or from meat industry from the Korea. And I think we as a Pakistani nation has a lot to learn from how they're treating their dogs, because I think they're one of the most abused animals on the street.
Exactly, and not just that, how they actually train their dogs as well. So you go to UK, Canada, Australia, you will go see their dogs. They'll be just like another human in their house. Sitting,
they're considered a
making
part
sure.
of the family. If you ask them how many family members you are, they will also count the dog as a part of the
Exactly, and
family.
the dog's enjoying on their own. But imagine if you keep a dog away in Pakistan, only one dog will drag you away. You'll be like, okay, what am I doing wrong? But I think, this is a Guinness World Record, so many different types of records coming up. But coming back to the topic where we've alluded perfectly well before going to the break, whether to have toys in abundance will foster your brain development or not, whether you will develop amazing cognitive abilities or not. And to talk about this, we are very lucky that we've been joined by one of our best, ladies and gentlemen, and the finest, educational psychologist, who happens to be Dr. Aiza Yazdani. Hello, madam. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Islam, and you always bring such a smile to my face.
Thank
Thank
No,
you.
you always carry a great smile.
Thank you so much. But there is a research that has been conducted by the occupational therapist Alexia Metz at the Toledo University, in which they researched that the quality of the children play seemed to be better with the fewer toys. So, madam, we want to develop the conversation on that. Do you believe that having lesser toys foster more creativity and imagination within the children? Because we see that the rooms of the kids, they are, stuffed with so many toys out there. We did not have that much toys. I would remember we would, usually go out in the outdoors and play. So, what are your thoughts on this research?
I'll definitely agree with you. The human mind develops when it is stretched to a certain point. When you have too many things, then you just, and they have a restricted role.
Okay.
So then you have a train, and the train is just going to run around the track, and maybe you will pick up the houses and have the track. But if you put together a line of shoe boxes and you imagine that they are going down, so just imagine the role of the frontal cortex in imagining and envisioning a whole city or whatever track the child wants. So we are aiming to develop a child's imagination, creativity, and hence his development in all. So it's a three-dimensional space we are in.
Right.
So this is the two that we are in. So the 3 is the one which we have imagination, right?
Exactly, and in addition to this, you know, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to recall. Now imagine that we were 7 siblings growing up, our parents were really hard-working parents, you know, did had a lot of money back then, but shukr alhamdulillah now we're good to do. I don't know, you know, because Abu watches my show, if he's going to like it or not.
Right.
But it was really a minte wala affair, Abu please gaadi le de, Abu please. And I've always been, you know, interested with cars. Now imagine that same car was, 1 obviously a car for me, 2 was a phone for me, you know, so everything which was coming in front of me, I would use that car to kind of imagine that, okay, you know, it can still play the role. I don't know whether how it actually had an impact on my cognitive ability or my psychological health, and this is exactly why we have you. Now imagine that if a kid, because what happens as a parent is that we think that, okay, we might not be, you know, good parents by not giving them whatever they are asking for. How does that impact?
Okay, so first is the commercialization aspect,
Yeah.
and then the seasons, the holiday seasons. So you have to really resist that concept of. The other unfortunate concept here is that you feed and you give material needs,
Yep.
and then you don't give your emotional self.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So we emphasize developing the relationship on a relationship terms, not on toys. I give you a toy, you come to me. So that's a transaction of a physical nature. So children who have less toys, now when you were waiting for your toy, what actually happened was you were waiting. So you were not immediately getting. So if you take a child to the toy store, it's 24 hours open, or you order. Now what's happening? It's immediate gratification, our favorite words.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, yes.
So the child doesn't learn to wait.
True.
But we don't get everything in life, and we don't get everything when we want it. So we have to help children develop that concept that you'll get it maybe in 1 week, maybe in 2 weeks, but not like, oh, we are poor and we are this and that. Please don't give that.
Dr. Isa, I've seen this thing, especially in the millennial mothers, is that they're micromanaging a lot of stuff. You know, they're scheduling the entire day. You know, they need to do this activity in this time and in this time frame. Do you think it's a good idea? I mean, scheduling everything and even their plays and giving them the toys out there, or just letting the child out there if child is getting bored, because when he is bored, he will develop that, you know, creativity and imagination, and he will utilize all of the things in the house to create something new. So do you feel that it's a micromanaging or scheduling the entire day is a good idea for the young mother?
Well, you do need a schedule, a eating schedule, study
Device schedule, yeah.
So you need those broader outline.
Okay.
But everybody needs their own window.
Right.
So you must have a time when the child is just on his or her own, and then you are also able to step back for a moment and relax yourself.
All right.
Too much micromanagement basically doesn't develop that internal control in the child to be able to rely on his or her own resources,
Emotions
how
as
to
well,
manage
yeah.
his time.
Right, right.
I'm always being told what to do next, what to do next. So I don't have that internal thermostat which says what to do next.
And in addition to this, I think that it will actually kind of hinder his or her own decision-making process as well. Whether, because in life you've always been there to kind of tell the kid, okay, this is what you need to do, which is why I'm going to take advantage of this. I won't have to go to her clinic or, you know, pay the consultation fee.
Right.
So my middle child these days is actually going through a lot of tantrums, you know, because the youngest one has actually grown up to be really cute and, you know, really friendly with people and whatnot, and that was the spot that she used to enjoy. What do you think as parents we need to do for the middle child syndrome?
Well, you said it yourself, because the younger is getting a lot of attention.
Not from us, you know, people around us.
But then we also shape people's responses. We
Okay.
take a stand for them. I used to do that, whether my kids now remember it or not. So you direct people's attention to their characteristics, and you don't let them like hang them in the background.
Okay.
So you talk about them when they're hearing you talk about them.
All right.
So the child knows that you are the safe person, you are that person to connect to.
Wonderful.
And then the others really don't matter that much,
Yeah.
because the parent whose initial validation is
So
foremost.
I think it's dada, dadi, chachiyan, popos and everybody who needs to be around, and probably, you
And
know,
I
parents can
think
speak about
the
it.
entire ecosystem is very essential for the child's growth. So, Dr. Aiza, very quickly before we wrap up this segment, please shed some light on the lived experiences of the child, for example, visit to a museum or the park versus engaging in the toys. So, you know, as a child psychologist, what do you think is a more better way to deal with that? Do you think that now we have made our child more addicted to the screens, that they're not going to the museums and the outdoor activities?
And
What
they're
is the-
isolating themselves as
What
well
is the
because of screens.
significance of that lived experience, you know?
The lived experience makes you interact with people, with new situations, new spaces.
Yes.
It develops an ability to, you know, converse, to negotiate, to learn with the world in its on its own terms, right?
Yeah.
If I have so we have all of those devices now, and we are really isolated, because then it's in my control. But the world is not in my control.
That's true.
So the lived in experience is so, like again I said, is a spatio-visual perception, is how you manage it in the 3D. So you are using your hands, your brain is receiving signals here, and every time you make something like you know, knitting, or maybe you make a paper craft or anything, your brain is just developing.
And it's more of an hands-on experience as well. So very quickly, now imagine that I still remember that our parents never allowed us to have, you know, individual screens, probably television screens in our rooms, because my father was always of the sort that, hey, you know what, you know, this needs to be in the living room so that everybody sits together, watches TV
Family
together.
bonding, right?
You know, so from, for family bonding, obviously. So from one screen, we have gone to multiple screens. Now, I think in every household, might be 8 to 10 televisions, 3, 4 iPads, you know, mobile phones and everything. How do you think it will have its impact in the longer run on children? Because now one daughter is sitting here watching something of her own, one is over here watching something of her own. So how do you think that it will have an impact?
The stats have changed, family life has dropped drastically, relationships have deteriorated. So I doubt we'll be having very many relationships in the future.
Okay.
We will be just happy. You know, so people will keep posting content and nonsense content and all kinds of content, and it will be endless.
Yeah.
So if you give other options to the children, they will be able to filter the need to watch and that.
Yeah.
But if we can let it go down this way, so everything is being affected.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you so
Aiza.
much, Dr. Aiza. And I think one of the important take that we would want our viewers to take from this entire conversation is that creativity of the child is a muscle. The more they use it, the more they develop it. If they're not using it, I mean, that muscle will fade away with the passage of time, right? And we do see that how kids are so creative, but when they grow into an adults, we don't see that creativity anymore, right? So as a parents, I think it is very incumbent upon us that we need to foster that creativity by curbing the amount of the toys that you're giving them, because when they are bored, I mean, they will throw some tantrums, but they will find the activities that stimulates their creativity. Maybe their shoe racks, like their Dr. Aiza said, or maybe something else, you know, for example, from the scrap that they can convert it into a very productive thing. So make sure that you're fostering your kids' development, and we will continue to have this conversation on this topic because it is very fascinating. It is very multifaceted.
Let's move on to social media now and how it's going to impact.
Yes, and but after the short break, don't go anywhere. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back, and in another very interesting and amazing development, astronomers have discovered that a well-studied brown dwarf is actually a 2, and that is related to a universe. Yes, so hundreds of papers have been written about the first known brown dwarf, Gliese 229b, since its discovery by the Caltech researchers at the Institute Observatory 1995. But a pressing mystery has persisted about its orbit. It is too dim for its mass, Brown dwarfs are lighter than the stars and heavier than the gas giants like Jupiter. And while astronomers had measured the mass, it is about 70 times that of Jupiter, an object of that have should shine more brightly, what the telescopes has observed.
Best of the Creator, Allah Almighty, Alhamdulillah.
That's very interesting, and like Shahzad mentioned, we want to explore the terrain of digital media and how it impacts the younger generation. And I think Generation Z and millennials is a very interesting generation, because we see that there are so many movements that are going on, be it the climate activism, be it the social movements, be it the political, religious, there's so many movements.
And the best part is that we are all talking about it. I think that's the best part. That's
and they're
the first step as
disrupting
well.
the status quo also, so we would want to have the conversation in this direction. We are very glad that we have been joined by a motivational speaker. He happens to be the Tasadduq Jalani. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
So wonderful to have you over here. Obviously, to get started, the impact of social media on youth, how do you gauge that?
So basically, I think the flood of information that is thrown on through social media on entire,
Elsewhere.
yeah, but the thing is, it's more impacting the youngsters now. The reason is that the amount and the scale of information that is flooded in social media. It's not easy to validate that. It's not easy to verify things. So and when it comes to youngsters, I think they are not even, they don't have any references to verify that. So it becomes dangerous, and it is actually becoming dangerous when it goes to violence. For example, what happened in UK last few months back. So one fake news caused a lot of loss of human life, and then of course it created anxiety in the society as well.
But whose fault is it, sir? It's not the social media's fault, it's the user's fault, no?
Exactly. So this is what exactly we would like to understand, that now we cannot say that it is social media, cannot be controlled, blah blah blah. We have to stand up and start thinking about it, how to actually react to this information. So I think my take would be at least on two things. One is that now the mainstream media has to play its role, more importantly to verify those information and news which are actually taking the people towards violence. True. At least number one. Number two, as the kids get the phone in hand or gadget in hand, maybe in too early stages, like in schools, for example. Now the school's curriculum has to be modified immediately, because the analytics kind of things.
So within this context, how do you want us to kind of modify the curriculum? Within the social media's context.
I mean, as you know that now with this gadget, my behavior, your behavior, what we are going to do is already predicted by the people who are analyzing.
Sir, हमें भी बंदे का पहले पता लग जाता है ना, हम मेहमान आना, अच्छा देख लो जरा प्रोफाइल पे क्या क्या लिखा
है. There are people who are gathering all this information, and they're using it for their own purpose, like
marketing.
Positive purpose is marketing, negative purpose could be that, as we said, to exploit
altering
that information.
Human behaviors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is that I mean, governments are usually having more resources than all those people who are doing it. So governments or states cannot sit like idle. We can't do it.
Yeah.
They have resources, it only needs a vision. Okay. So what we need to do in schools is to introduce, after certain research, certain subjects, even from the primary level, to give or enable the kid's mind that how to sort out this information, especially the information that actually triggers you towards violence or negativity.
But Tasadduq Sahab, there are a lot of very positive movements that are also being on the social media. For example, movements on climate change, right? Movements on the social improvement and maybe some
human rights,
movements.
human trafficking.
Yes, movement against the racism. Social media is very essential element, like Black Lives Matter and all of these movements, right? So I mean, we do see a very positive change in how Generation Z and millennials, they are positively impacting and disrupting the old status quo, right? How do we need to cope up with this development?
So basically, this is what you have mentioned. What we need to bring, I mean, the attention of the youth is towards this positivity. How to take the best information, the best knowledge out of the social media information, and then you know, I mean, avoid that negativity. So as you said, I mean, this information has really scaled up our knowledge, you know, our information, our approach to handling issues. So there we need to put our focus on. So as I said, you need to give a direction to this thought process of the kids. Knowing kids, they actually cannot filter the information. When you flood the information into the brain,
I think adults are also same, no?
To some extent not, because you know
they are a little more disciplined.
Exactly. And they have some references, you know, in their mind, so they can easily compare. But the kids do not have references. For example, this new cultural, new norm of education through social media is that it's actually violating all the cultural norms. I mean, you cannot train your kid according to your own culture now. It's a global culture. So they learn everything out of it. So it's important that we need to channelize that.
Cultures are supposed to be evolved, sir.
They constantly change.
It has to be. It has to be. But the thing is, I mean,
the
pace of change is not easy to be accepted by the
elder generation.
I mean, as you see, you said the elder is processing it slowly with some reference, but the younger could not. So there will be a conflict of opinion, and that could be good, but at the same time, it will not be accepted by that generation. So I think that could be a little bit more organized.
And that's exactly what hurts as well. Hurts to them, which is why, you know, we probably might be having this dialogue as well. Because for them to adopt a newer culture is much easier than for us to kind of adopt a newer thing within our own culture. And I think it's more about liberalism, where Hazrat Ali Razi Allah Ta'ala anhu actually spoke about it as well, that please make sure that you do not look after your kids as you were looked after by your parents, you know, because the times evolving, things are changing, the cultures are changing as well. So the positive thing for the media to do is that, you know, that we verify, make sure that the source is reliable, and then for everybody to kind of
and basically to connect, you know, to connect this pace with the older pace as well. So as I said, this mainstream media has a bigger role to play now in this era, so that the verification and connection between or bridging the gap between two generations is easy. Otherwise, it can create a lot of
exactly. Very quickly, one small question, which obviously is just bugging me right now. Now, I still remember that when I got my first computer in 1998, you know, my parents were of the sort that, pata nahi, you know, ki hone laga hun, pata nahi ki vekhega internet te ki ho jayega. You know, for all of those people who are out there, just to give a reference in Urdu, you know, because everybody can relate with that. Now, imagine that if we as a nation have always been, you know, taking this newer technology in a way that it will only have its negative impact, we had nobody around to tell us about the positive impacts of it. Don't you think that if we all start to talk about the positive things which the newer technology will bring, rather than talking about deep fakes, misinformation, disinformation, it will create that change?
This is really wonderful. You know that human brain does not accept no negativity. For example, if I tell you, don't think about an elephant, but you will think about the elephant right away. So absolutely correct. We need to bring the positivity out of it, so that we always talk about the positive things on that
so that
platform,
the new generation focuses on that.
So that new generation actually is listening and focusing on that. That's very important.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Tasadduq Gilani sahab, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation.
Thank you so much. And I think it's very essential that we realize this human capacity, that whenever new technology is introduced, it will always face the opposition. So with that, we are bidding you farewell. Until next time, it's a goodbye. Allah Hafiz and good morning.
Game on.